The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Dr. Craig Coker, University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia. The senators will remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by our Senate page, Emma Levis-Kolinsky.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we praise and thank you for making us a people whose variety reflects the kaleidoscope of your glory. In the shadow of Monday's legacy, and in the midst of these challenging times, renew in us an infinite hope. Inspire once more that holy vision of a beloved community where all have enough and enough satisfies, where all have a voice and that voice be used for goodness alone, and our very lives reflect the answer to another's prayer. Bless, O God, the people of this Commonwealth. Give courage and wisdom to those who lead it, that when evening comes, you might say to us all, well done. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present will record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
Senate Journal for Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
Once again, we do not have a communication from the governor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Now comes a time in the morning hour where we welcome our distinguished guests with us here in the Senate gallery. I'll give my daily reminder that the way that this will proceed is that a senator will stand up and recognize an individual or group. I will then offer the warm welcome of the Senate, and we will then, at the very end, all clap together. And so I'd like to begin by recognizing the senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
I rise
Senator.
for the purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this year the 72nd Model General Assembly will kick off and be held March 21st through 23rd here in the Capitol. It's been going on since 1948, and many of us were participants. I believe Senator Vogel, Senator Lewis, and His Excellency were participators in the Virginia Model General Assembly. And Mr. President, I know you were generous with your time, spent some time with these young leaders last night. So with us here today, we have the Youth Governor, Tommy Dannenfelser from Bishop O'Connell High School, Lieutenant Governor Isabel Bainham from Wakefield School, the Attorney General Catherine Plaster from Richlands High School, the House Speaker Candace Molina from Faith Christian School, then two folks from my old stomping grounds in Farmville, Mr. President, House Speaker Pro Tem Isaac Drummond from Fuqua School, Senate President Pro Tempore Irene Thornton from Fuqua School, and Sharon Davies, the Executive Director from the Virginia YMCA. So, Mr. President, I hope you'll give these young leaders who one day soon will be sitting in our seats and one day in the future may as well a warm welcome to the Senate. Thank you.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Model General Assembly please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for being here today. Congratulations to each one of you. I did have the honor and pleasure of visiting with you last evening and was just so impressed by the professionalism and the achievement of each one of you. And we are proud of your leadership. And as the Senator generously and eloquently pointed out, you will one day very soon be taking on these roles and leading this Commonwealth forward into the future. We could not be more grateful. I also got to see a picture of Senator Mason when he was your age, and it was fantastic. So we'll be sharing that around here in the Senate today. But thank you guys for all that you're doing. I know you'll be back here in March in these very chambers. So congratulations. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our great leaders from the YMCA Model General Assembly. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Good morning, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the body, we have several visitors up in the gallery this morning. Alan Ayler and Mary Ayler, who are from Westmoreland County, and their daughter and son-in-law, Debbie Sullivan and Jay Sullivan, who are actually from Stafford County. So they're from all over my district this morning. Mr. President, interesting fact, Alan Ayler actually has a small business in my district that does testing of automotive parts, which help keep us all safe in this room. So we thank him for what he does to ensure that these automobiles are safe and people are safer on the highway. And with that, Mr. President, I'd ask you to give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends Alan, Mary, Debbie, and Jay please rise in the gallery if you're able. Thank you all so much for being here today. We're honored by your presence, and we echo the eloquent words of the Senator from King George, Senator Stewart. We appreciate your leadership here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and also as a small business owner in a very important industry. Thank you for all that you do to keep us all safe. So tell our friends in Westmoreland and in Stafford that we say hello, and I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our four distinguished guests. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, we are pleased to have in the gallery today the president of what has been newly named the University of Lynchburg, and that is Dr. Ken Guerin. Mr. President, as many of you know, what used to be Lynchburg College is one of the oldest private colleges in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Dr. Guerin has been leading that organization for many years now. He announced, much to my surprise, that he is planning to retire. We've asked him to sign up for another 20 years. It's under consideration, but Dr. Guerin has done a remarkable job at what is now the University of Lynchburg. And, Mr. President, I would hope that you would give Dr. Guerin the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would Dr. Ken Guerin please rise in the gallery if you're able? Dr. Guerin, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your leadership at the University of Lynchburg. We are so grateful for all that you've done for our students and our families here in the Commonwealth of Virginia to make us a much better Commonwealth. And we echo the eloquent, generous words of the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman. We're happy to sign you up for another 20 years if you're willing to reconsider, but if not, enjoy a well-deserved retirement and many happy returns. And so I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our great leader, Dr. Ken Garrett. Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
I thank the senator. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, today is the 17th annual Brunswick Stew Day at the General Assembly with the Brunswick County Lake Gaston Tourism Association. Seated in the gallery and other places throughout the Capitol, you will find the stew cookers: Tracy Clary, Leonard Clary, Cole Clary, Tommy Lucy, Charles Waller, Steve Capps, Jimmy Easter, Carol Tucker, Margaret Arrington. And also we have the volunteers, who include Supervisors Bernard L. Jones Sr., Supervisor Frederick A. Harrison Sr., Dr. Charlotte T. Woolridge, the County Administrator, Leslie R. Wellington, Assistant County Administrator, Dixie Walker, Tourism Coordinator, Bobby Connor, Nancy Watson, Sylvia Allen, and Dr. Alfonso R. Stewart. Mr. President, I would appreciate it if you would please extend a very warm welcome to our guests who have fed us lunch today. And when you ask everybody to applaud, tell them to applaud like they really appreciate the Brunswick stew.
I thank the senator. Would our friends from the Brunswick Lake Gaston Tourism Association with us in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here on this very special day. It's one that we all look forward to, and the 17th annual Brunswick Stew Day is even better than all the ones before it. And thank you for being out there. We understand at midnight you started cooking, and we got to stir up the pot a little bit just a few moments ago. And so everyone is going to enjoy the Brunswick Stew today. But thank you for your leadership and for all that you do to make us a better Commonwealth. I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests from Brunswick and Lake Gaston. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, visiting us from the gallery today is Chiquita Jones. Chiquita is a constituent of mine who lives in the historic Fulton Hill neighborhood of East End, Richmond. I had the pleasure of meeting her at a meeting of the Fulton Neighborhood Association, a group that she is very active in, among others, in her community. This is her first visit to the Capitol, and I'm so happy to have the privilege of having you recognize her today. So, Mr. President, I would ask you to please extend to Ms. Jones the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the senator. Would Ms. Chiquita Jones please rise to the gallery if you're able? Ms. Jones, thank you so much for being with us here today. We are grateful for your presence and for your leadership, and we echo the words of the senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance. Thank you for all that you do to make us a better Commonwealth of Virginia. You are welcome back here anytime, and I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Ms. Chiquita Jones. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction,
Thank
please.
the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, we have some very special guests, the Community Coalitions of Virginia. They are a nonprofit statewide coalition established to work across all sectors to prevent and reduce substance abuse and related risk factors in communities throughout Virginia. They work diligently using the strategic prevention framework model to collect data, implement strategies, and evaluate outcomes on substance abuse issues, including opioids, heroin, marijuana, drinking, and driving, and nicotine products. Mr. President, even one of the wonderful ladies actually attends my church, and I'm just so honored to have her here today. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Community Coalitions of Virginia please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for your leadership in such an important area, reducing and preventing misuse of substances, and really makes us a healthier Commonwealth, the work that you're doing. And so we echo the generous and eloquent words of the Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, and offering you praise for all the work that you do. And you, of course, are welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone to please join me and extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Community Coalitions of Virginia. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a pair of introductions.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I want to recognize two gentlemen from Fairfax County that are visiting us today. First one is a good friend of mine, Varun Nakor. Varun is the founder and managing partner of Red Fort Strategies. He is a specialist in the aerospace and defense industry spaces. He's been a member of the Virginia Commercial Spaceflight Board and the Offshore Wind and Development Board. He's a proud graduate of George Mason University, and his daughter attends Virginia Tech. He's someone I've known for the last 10 years. He's an outstanding business leader in Northern Virginia. He's also here with Farhan Hamid, who's a constituent of mine. Farhan is an attorney and business owner. He owns Redford Strategies, and he is the chairman of the Virginia Lottery Board. So with outstanding people like this, I wonder why I'm the one that's lucky enough to represent them. But the bottom line is they're up there and I'm down here. So I hope that we will represent them or greet them to the Virginia State Senate. Thank you very much.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends Varun Nakor and Farhan Hamid please rise in the gallery? Varun and Farhan, thank you all so much for joining us here today in the Senate. It's always an honor and a privilege to get to see you here in Richmond. And we echo the generous and eloquent words, Senator from Fairfax City, about your leadership in the Commonwealth. Varun, thanks for all you do in the private sector and in civic life to move us forward. And Farhan, the same with you. Thank you for chairing the board, the lottery board. We hit the jackpot when we got you to do that. Y'all heard that? Very good. And so we are grateful to you and your daughter, who is a freshman at Virginia Tech, Varun. We know that she's making you very proud, and you have a beautiful family. So I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Varun and Farhan. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Good morning, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of two introductions.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to first direct everyone's attention in the gallery to 14 students who are visiting the Capitol here today from Taylor Middle School in Warrenton, Virginia. I believe that they were here today to express their support for one of the big bills that came before the session, but I won't go into that right now. Also, they're here with their teachers, and in the gallery with this group is also somebody who's got a very special connection to my Chief of Staff, Angie Bell. It is her cousin, and her name is Kaylin Uoa, and I also wanted to just draw your attention to the group and urge you to give them the very warm welcome of the Senate, and hope they have a wonderful day here.
I thank the Senator. Would Kaylin and our students from Taylor Middle School please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here today. We are very honored by your presence. I got to meet some of our great students here a little bit earlier before session and was very impressed. And I know that you all have very bright futures ahead of you. We echo the eloquent words of the Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel. You're welcome here anytime. Hope you have a great day on the Capitol Square. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our student leaders from Taylor Middle School. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. One more introduction is from a very impressive young man who reached out to me earlier this year in his quest to become a Senate page. This was not his year, but next year will be his year. He is a middle school student at Cedar Lee Middle School in Bealton, which is in Fauquier County. He's actually shadowing me today. He's been so interested. He communicated with me and wrote to me and has so impressed me with his initiative. And he's here today, and he brought his dad, William Baird, who is a nurse and also has had a career in law enforcement prior to that. And they're here for the day, and I would ask that you please extend to both of them the very warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Avery and William Baird please rise in the gallery if you're able? Avery and William, thank you all so much for being here today. Avery, really tremendously impressed by what Senator Vogel has shared with us about your initiative, and we do look forward to your leadership here in the Senate and in the Capitol. And William, thank you for all that you're doing, both your career in law enforcement and as a nurse, two tremendous and important professions. And I know you're very proud of your son, Avery, and look forward to him joining us here in the future. So I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Avery and William Baird. Senator from Northwest Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, in the gallery today, I hope they're still here. I can't see them. We have members of the Arc of Northern Virginia, and I especially want to highlight a couple of good friends of mine, Cassie Albert and her sister Laura and their father Mark. I met Cassie and her family through the Arc of Northern Virginia, and am very excited to have them and everyone from the Arc here at the Capitol today. You might have seen them walking through the halls in their bright orange scarves. Cassie specifically always has the very best hugs and warm greeting for everybody. And Mr. President, I hope that you'll give Cassie and her family, as well as everyone with the Arc of Northern Virginia, a very warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Would Cassie, her family, and our friends from the Arc of Northern Virginia please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here with us today. We are grateful to you and always see the unmistakable orange scarves and know that you're here to advocate on behalf of all Virginians, and we're grateful for the work that you do here in our Capitol to educate us and to make us a better Commonwealth. And so, Cassie, thank you for being here yet again. We look forward to seeing you. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Arc of Northern Virginia. Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day here in the Capitol. And with us today, in attendance from the Fraternal Order of Police of Virginia, we have the President, John Ornberger from Dulles, immediate past President Kevin Carroll from Chesterfield County, Vice President Harry Twyford from Norfolk. Also in attendance are members of the FOP and the law enforcement community from across the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Fraternal Order of Police is made up of roughly 7,000 sworn law enforcement officers from across the Commonwealth. Their membership includes law enforcement agencies, state police, sheriff's deputies, Capitol Police, and corrections officers, just to name a few. They are supported by an auxiliary lodge that is comprised of family members and an associate lodge comprised of citizens who work to support law enforcement officers. Now, each day, these brave men and women from the FOP, of which I'm a member, Lodge Number 9, they serve and protect the citizens of Virginia. Today is their annual rally day in the General Assembly, and this is their 23rd anniversary of Law Enforcement Appreciation Day here at the General Assembly. They're here to offer their opinions both for and against proposed legislation that affects law enforcement. They like my bills. Yeah, okay. And they are also inviting you. They're hosting an anniversary reception tonight at the SunTrust Center building right across the street from the Pocahontas building, starting at 5 o'clock. And each senator is invited and encouraged to attend and say hello to our brave law enforcement officers. Mr. President, I hope you'll offer the warm greetings of the Senate to these brave men and women.
I thank the Senator. Would our leaders from the Fraternal Order of Police and those with Law Enforcement Appreciation Day please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are always honored by your presence and grateful for your work keeping us safe here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We know the many risks that you take, and we know that also it's a family endeavor to be involved in law enforcement. So we are grateful to your families and of all 40 senators, our entire staff are deeply appreciative of what you do and all that you do to make this Commonwealth a much better place for all to live, work, and to raise a family. So I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders in law enforcement from the Fraternal Order of Police. the senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
I thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, getting us off to the great start today with the invocation that was very beautifully done and very eloquent was the Reverend Dr. Craig Coker, who is in the Senate gallery now. Dr. Coker is the university chaplain at the University of Richmond, a fantastic university in my district. And Dr. Coker is doing a great job with the spiritual life and community engagement of the students there, and I'd ask that we offer him the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the senator. Would Dr. Coker please rise in the gallery? Doctor, thank you so much for your presence and for your beautiful prayer. Really, as the senator said, got us off to a tremendous start here today. Thank you for your leadership at the University of Richmond and in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are grateful to have moral leaders like you to help guide us forward and make us a better Commonwealth every single day. So you're welcome back here anytime. I understand today was your first day giving the prayer. Certainly will not be your last. And we look forward to seeing you here in the Capitol for many days ahead. So I would ask everyone to please join me in sending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Dr. Coker. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
I thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members of the Senate, today we have visiting us from the heart of the 22nd Senate District from Farmville, Mr. Jordan Miles. Jordan is director of the Piedmont Senior Resources Agency on Aging, which is a nonprofit agency addressing the needs of people age 60 and older. He operates in the county, that commission operates in the counties of Amelia, Cumberland, Buckingham, Charlotte, Nottoway, Lunenburg, and Prince Edward. The agency serves thousands of seniors through its programs, including home-delivered meals, insurance counseling, money management, nutrition counseling, care coordination, and much, much more. The agency just rolled out its first non-emergency medical transportation program for the elderly, which has been in very high demand since it started in December. The agency truly helps the elderly in times of need. Recently, a driver was delivering a meal and came to a residence that had a senior inside who had fallen, and she had no one in the residence with her. There was water running all over her bathroom floor, and she had been lying there, and no telling how long she would have been there had someone from the Piedmont Senior Agency of the Aging not arrived. So, Mr. President, I ask that you and the members of the Senate extend to Mr. Jordan Miles the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Mr. Jordan Miles please rise in the gallery if you're able? Jordan, thank you so much for being here today, and also thank you for your tremendous work on behalf of our seniors in the Piedmont region. We are deeply grateful for that very important work, and echo the generous and eloquent words of the Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake. Give dignity to our elderly population and honor them in that way, and we're all deeply grateful for that work. So I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Mr. Jordan Miles. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, visiting us in the gallery should be the students of Dinwiddie Elementary School. They are the Elementary School Student Council Association. And, Mr. President, I would ask that you would give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our student leaders from Dinwiddie Elementary School Student Council Association please rise in the gallery? Thank you all so much for being here today. I had the honor and privilege of spending some time with you this morning. You dropped by our office, and I was so impressed by every single one of you and got to hear about your schoolwork, your families, your pets we talked about as well, and your career plans going forward. So I am so grateful to every single one of you. Keep working hard in school. Your families, your principal, your teacher who are with you are so proud of you, and we all are as well. So we see bright things in your future. Dream big, and good things will happen. I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our student leaders from Dinwiddie Elementary School. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have three very, very hard-working interns working in my office this year. The first is a Miss Erin McConnell. She's from Fredericksburg. She's currently a junior at Christopher Newport University. More importantly, she's a political science major, but she took my course last semester, Mr. President, which is entitled How to Get a Job in Government Policy, because for some reason we don't teach young people the aspects of how do you go out and actually get a job. And so we had a blast with her. She's a tremendous student. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, she plans on attending law school. So, I'll continue to work on her. Also, I have working with me this year a Miss Shiver Hammonds. Shiver is from North Carolina. She's a graduate of UNC Charlotte. More importantly, Mr. President, she's a Navy veteran. She served 5 years in our armed forces as a hospital corpsman, and then she spent a year in the Air National Guard working, and then she has left the military service, and she's currently ODU at Old Dominion University working on her master's in public administration. And thirdly, Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Eric Bittner. Eric is back for a second year. He liked it so much last year that he's back working in my office again this year. He's from Winchester, and he attends VCU and is my official VCU intern last year. He's majoring in urban and regional planning with a minor in political science. He loved the process so much. Again, he volunteered to come back in my office, but I found out in my little notes here, he also wants to run for the General Assembly, which would explain every morning him coming in and checking my blood pressure, Mr. President. So I'd ask you to give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Would Aaron, Shiver, and Eric please rise to the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you for your work as interns here in the Senate with Senator Wagner. I know it's a really rewarding and enjoyable experience, and we're grateful to you for all you do to help us function and to allow the legislative process to be very effective. And so thank you all so, Shiver, for your service. Eric and Aaron, I know you have bright futures ahead of you, and we echo the generous and eloquent words of the senior senator from Virginia Beach. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our three distinguished interns and guests. The senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I would hope that you join the gentleman from James City County and me in welcoming our team from it used to be Lead Historic Triangle, but now it's Lead Greater Williamsburg area, the Chamber's leadership group. As you know, many of you have these groups in your area. They take a lot of time. It's an 8-month process. They go away from their jobs for full days as they go around the community and learn about various different aspects. They always pick a program and a project, Mr. President, that each year provides great benefit to the community. This year they've picked kindness as a theme, and kindness in so many different areas of our community and the nonprofits and in the business world. And so I'm very excited to see what that project's going to yield, and I give them a great deal of credit for doing it. They're with us here in the Senate gallery today, Mr. President. I hope you will welcome them, give them a warm welcome to the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from Lead Greater Williamsburg please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for your presence and for your work in Williamsburg and in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Echo the words of the Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason, and Senator from James City County, Senator Norman. I know they both are very proud of the work that you're doing and the leadership that you are showing, and we love that you've chosen kindness as your project and theme, and certainly look forward to that bearing fruit and extending well beyond Williamsburg. So I ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from Lead Greater Williamsburg. Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the gallery, I would also like to introduce some constituents of mine from Sterling, Virginia. Lauren Cottet Moyne and her father, Mark Veckery. Lauren and her father are here to observe the process of Virginia government. And Lauren, who is 12 years old, is also a golfer. She has competed and qualified against golfers from Virginia and from Virginia Tech with a 6th place finish in the Virginia Amateur over the summer. She's quite good. She was the youngest competitor by 3 years. Lauren is also an up-and-coming basketball player, so everybody needs to watch out for maybe we can get her to play in the game for the Senate this year. I hope it is going to be your pleasure, Mr. President, to give Lauren and Mark a warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
I thank the Senator. Would Lauren and Mike please rise in the gallery if you're able? Lauren and Mike, thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for your presence, that you would take the time to be with us, and certainly echo the generous, eloquent words of Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko. Mike, I know you're very proud of your daughter, Lauren. What incredible accomplishments at 12 years old. We see bright things in your future. We do play a basketball game here every year with senators against the House, and we need ringers. So if you're available, we can bring you in to play on our side. But thank you for all that you're doing, and we look forward to great things to come. So I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests, Mike and Lauren. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you.
I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate and those in the gallery, I would direct your attention to our gallery where we have a very important person sitting here and observing us today. And this is a person who has had a great injustice wrought upon him by the Commonwealth of Virginia, who spent 33 years in prison for a crime he did not commit and was later found not guilty of. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Allen Harward is someone who endured the loss of liberty wrongfully and without recourse until junk science, science that was used to convict him, bite mark science, was found to be discredited and unworthy. Mr. Harward has spent his time since his release making sure that those who are innocent are not wrongfully convicted. And he sits here today because he will give testimony on a bill, Senate Bill 1066, which will be presented to the Courts of Justice Committee later, where we in Virginia can maybe correct that wrong so not another innocent man spends 33 years of his life in prison for a crime that he did not commit. This bill will allow us in certain limited circumstances where people are convicted of those scientific methods that are then found to be unreliable, discredited, a second chance to allow Virginia to look at their case in a light that would not include that discredited science. So for those reasons, I ask that you look upon Mr. Keith Allen Harward with admiration and recognition and accept our apology from the Commonwealth of Virginia for being wrongfully convicted and for that 33-year loss of liberty. Mr. President, I ask that you extend the warmest of welcome of not just the Senate of Virginia, but the Commonwealth of Virginia to Keith Allen Harward. Thank you, sir.
Thank the Senator. Would Mr. Keith Allen Harwood please rise to the gallery if you are able? Mr. Harwood, thank you so much for being here with us today in the Senate. It is an honor to have you, and we echo the eloquent and generous words of the Senator from Franklin and offering our apologies and our deep gratitude for your fortitude. And we are grateful to you, to your family, for all that you've had to endure, and we're also grateful for the opportunity for second chances. And so thank you for taking your experience and using it to benefit other people. It's the highest sign of someone who has high character. And so we are deeply grateful to you. You are welcome back here anytime in your Senate, in your Commonwealth of Virginia. God bless you and your family. I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Mr. Keith Allen Harwood. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Mr. President, I would respectfully move that all the Senate bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 1 through 4, including Senate Bill 1425 through Senate Bill 1726, be placed on their final passage in the block. Any senator who desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 4, Senate Bill 1425 through Senate Bill 1726, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. Clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1425.
Mr. President, may I have the gracious
Senator from Enrico, Senator Dunn.
Thank you. May I have the gracious indulgence of the body to let that pass by one more day until I get the edits?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1425 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1023. Senate Bill 1488. Senate Bill 1273. Senate Bill 1644.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can Senate Bill 1644 come out of the block, please, sir?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1644 is removed from the block.
Senate Bill 1678. Senate Bill 1726.
Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is all bills except for Senate Bills 1425 and Senate Bill 1644. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to Senate Bill 1644.
Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. You want to speak to the bill?
Certainly. SB 1644 is enables us to put it together a work group to discuss how we could share mental health information between local jails and community services boards. The data sharing bill from last year, which Mr. Hanger carried, decouples information on a personal basis between agencies. This would be discussing a method of how we would have a way to have the CSB be able to share specific personal information about a diagnosis and treatment of a local or regular jail while keeping the personal private information safe. And I hope I move that we pass the bill, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Senator from Northwestern Fairfax rise for a question?
Will Senator yield? Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know as chairman we heard the bill in our committee, but I just had some follow-on questions that just weren't explained clearly enough for me. If the Senator wouldn't mind answering what the mechanism is on line 17, it says such plan shall include a mechanism for, and then it gives those determining factors. What's the mechanism, if she could describe what that is, Mr. President?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the finding out the mechanism is the purpose for the work group. It is to be determined, and we are going to bring experts who are qualified to make those decisions and determinations so that we have a good mechanism, but we don't have it yet.
Senator, further question?
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the Senator from Northwestern Territory up in Fairfax for her answer.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask if the Senator would yield for a question, sir.
Will Senator yield for a question?
I yield for a question, Mr.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, can you ask the gentlelady, I would ask the gentlelady if she could repeat exactly what this bill does for me.
What it does for you personally?
No.
Or would it?
That could be true. I just have no understanding of what exactly she said this does. And Mr. President, I'd ask the gentlelady if she would tell me what this bill does. Not for me, but for Virginia.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this would ask the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to convene a work group that would include representatives of the Community Services Board, the local and regional jails, the Attorney General's office, and other stakeholders necessary to study the issue of and develop a plan for sharing of protected health information of individuals with mental health treatment who have been confined in our local or regional jail in the Commonwealth and who have previously received that mental health treatment from a community services board or from a behavioral health authority in the Commonwealth. Such a plan shall include a mechanism for determining if an individual confined in a local or regional jail has previously received treatment from a community services board or behavioral health authority or in the Commonwealth, and in cases in which such person has received such treatment, transferring protected health information related to such treatment from the identified community services board to the sheriff or the superintendent of the local or regional jail is confined. Oh, I'm sorry. I was so busy reading. I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave anything unspoken because I knew how important it was to explain myself. So, thank you, Mr. President.
I think it's all been said. Are the senators ready to vote?
Mr. President.
Further questions, senators?
Well, it's really exciting, Mr. President, but part of what she just read, and I enjoy Boysko on tape, all right? That's next time I go on a long trip, that's what I want to pop in the old CD player and listen to. Mr. President, I ask if you yield for another question, please.
Will Senator yield for another question?
For a question.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I asked the gentlelady that in her recitation of this bill, if I'm a vegan, does that prevent me from ever being a stakeholder? It's a fair question.
Mr. President,
Stakeholder.
excellent question.
Like a holder of the steak. Not chicken holder, stakeholder.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, if you would let the gentleman from Franklin County know that if he has any expertise in the before mentioned categories, then being a vegan would not preclude him from being able to be a stakeholder.
I thank the gentlelady, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Mr. President, I rise in opposition to the bill, and I would encourage my colleagues to, as I listen to the explanation, it seems to me that this bill is absolutely saturated with bureaucracy, and the last thing that we need to do is to create more commissions and more bureaucracy, and so I would encourage you to not be enthusiastic in your support.
Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1644? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1644 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 7.
Ayes 32, noes 7. Senate Bill 1644 narrowly passes. Senator from Virginia Beach, Junior Senator, Senator
After voting on the prevailing side in which we passed Senate Bill 1644, I request we reconsider that vote. Thank you.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1644 was passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
There. Mr. President, I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Having previously explained the bill, I move passage of 1644.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1644? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1644 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Bill 1644 passes. Just by way of brief explanation to our guests in the gallery, we do that anytime any bill passes here in the Senate. So you'll see a lot of that. No, it was Senator Boysko who recently joined the body. That was her first bill to pass the Senate. So that's the Senate tradition, and that's why that all occurred. So thank you all for being here for that. And congratulations to you, Senator Boysko.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1168. A bill relating to the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, regulatory boards, expungement of disciplinary records. There's a floor substitute.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Step.
Mr. President, I request I go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1168 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1016. A bill relating to form a ballot, optional party identification of certain candidates.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak in favor of Senate Bill 1016 and ask that the bill pass.
Senator has the floor.
This bill is a great transparency bill, and it allows any candidate who has been nominated by a political party or in a primary election to then, in the general election, to be identified on the ballot by the name of his or her political party. Currently, only candidates for federal, statewide, and General Assembly offices are required to be so identified. And I would like to ensure that those who are running for constitutional office, such as Treasurer, Commissioner of Revenue, Clerk of the Circuit Court, and the Commonwealth's Attorney only, would be able to designate their political stripe on the ballot, just as we do for all other candidates who run for office and receive their party's nomination. Right now, we have voters showing up to the polls to vote, and they can transparently see the political stripe of every candidate on the ballot, except for our constitutional offices and some local positions. This only affects constitutional offices. Voters have expressed to poll workers that they feel like we are withholding information from them. They want to know if a candidate is affiliated with a certain party, yet under the current system, they must rely on sample ballot that a volunteer for a political party gives to them, and that's assuming that a volunteer is there to give them the sample ballot, and the voter takes the sample ballot. For that, Mr. President, I ask that we pass this great fine transparency bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise? Will the senator yield for a question?
Yes, President.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
I'd ask the gentlelady, and I'm looking at this bill, and it looks like it's been through a couple iterations. Does this only apply for constitutional officers?
Yes.
I thank the gentlelady. I'll speak at the appropriate time.
Absolutely.
This is the appropriate time.
Speak
Thank
now,
you, Mr.
please.
President.
You have the floor.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, first of all, I recognize this is limited to only constitutional offices and not local offices. It wouldn't apply to city council, so I'll save you my annual tear-jerking speech about how my young father at the time took me around as a little boy when he was a federal employee and was running for city council, because I understand city council is not covered by this. But let me make this point, and if I'm never in this body again and you don't remember anything I ever say, remember this. There's too much partisanship in politics right now, okay? And this is not really helping people. The constitutional offices we're talking about are Commissioner of the Revenue, Treasurer, Clerk of the Circuit Court, Commonwealth's Attorney, and Sheriff. Okay, these are not offices where having a D or an R by your name necessarily makes you better. Now, I understand, and the lady's 100% correct, that if you're nominated by a party, then yes, there is a level of transparency. But my fear is that when we put people on the ballot and put D or R by their name, their ability to prosecute a case, their ability to run a jail, their ability to assess property, their ability to basically keep track of finances, their ability to keep track of legal records is lost in the shuffle because people walk in and they just see D or they see R rather than actually looking at the individual merits of the lady or gentleman that's on the ballot. Now, I've been in this body long enough where you voted against this bill because you wanted to protect Democrats. We may now be at a point where you vote against this bill because you may want to protect Republicans in certain part of the state. But I'm not interested in protecting either. I'm interested in protecting people that do a good job, and for whatever reason, they may not be a member of the majority party in that jurisdiction, and yet, you know what? Maybe they ought to hold that office because maybe they're the best man or woman for the job. So I'm going to vote against this bill. I recognize everything the lady says, and she's a woman of integrity. I'm proud to serve with her, but I will end where I started. There is too much partisanship in politics, and this bill is not helping things. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is the senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben, rise?
I have two questions that I would ask if the sponsor would yield.
Will Senator yield for questions? Senator Yield, you have the floor.
I would ask the senator, the title of the bill I think is misstating the way it is now. It says optional party identification. And I thought that she said that the candidates would have the option. Is that correct, or is it mandatory now in the bill?
Senator's floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually accepted a friendly amendment in the committee, and so that it did change from a shell, a made to a shell.
And I'd ask the gentlewoman if she would accept another question, if she'd yield.
For a second question?
I yield.
She yields. You have the floor.
And I wanted to ask if it's true, based on what's online, the remaining language on line 15 through 18, if candidates for county board, county supervisor, or city council who are nominated by a party would be covered if they're nominated by a party.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. They would not.
Would the gentlewoman yield for one more question?
Senator
I yield.
Senator Yields, you have the floor.
I'd ask the gentlewoman to explain. I'm reading the bill now, and it doesn't refer to constitutional. Where does it say in the bill, or it says? Is there somewhere else in the section that it says they won't be identified?
Line 18 says constitutional officers.
I don't see that on the bill, but I thank the gentlewoman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is the senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members, I rise to support this bill. The question is around that why then, if that was a problem, then why are you going to the problem of having a primary? Let's take Norfolk and Chesapeake. In Norfolk, where the Democrats pretty much controlled in Norfolk, if you don't designate yourself as a Democrat and just run, you will not win. In Chesapeake, why have a primary? If you do not designate yourself as a DRR, you will not win. You cannot win in either of those cities, since I know those two very well, unless you designate yourself. So why are we so afraid of having those on the ballot? If that's the case, then what we should do is just have an open election. Don't have no primary. Why are you forcing a person to have a primary to say that they are a Democrat or Republican, and the primary spend all that money to say that I get the nomination from either party, waste all that money, and then turn around and they're not on the bill, on the ballot? They know what you are. Once you campaign all over the whole city of Chesapeake or Norfolk, I know those two very well, identifying yourself as one or the other. By the time you finish that primary, everybody know that you're a Democrat or a Republican. They know that already. So if that's the case, they already know why not put it on the ballot. So I'm saying to Mr. President that if we don't want that to happen, someone to be not to be put on the ballot, then take it out. take it out so you won't have that on the ballot. Don't allow any candidate to waste their money to run in the primary, and then in the general election, they're not on the ballot. What are you scared of? What's the problem? If you're a Republican, say you're a Republican. You're a Democrat, say it. I support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank the Senator. Any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1016? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1016 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. Senate Bill 1016 passes.
Senate Bill 1025, a bill relating to tethering of animals, adequate shelter, and space.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
With apologies to the patron, I have a couple of questions I need to go over with him. Could this go by for the day, please?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1025 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1110, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, local referendum.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask the bill pass and speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the work product of a long summer for a subcommittee, and if you look at the patrons of the bill, you'll notice it's done in a bipartisan fashion and a product of that work group. Let me tell you what this bill does and what it doesn't do. It's been 86 years since Prohibition, so even Senator Saslaw wasn't there when the Prohibition ended. And what happened in 1933 when Prohibition ended, that in the Commonwealth, everybody was considered dry by default unless they held a special referendum. And that would cause them to become the wet label, thereby granting them the opportunity to sell alcohol. A dry locality is any county, town, city, or portion thereof that does not permit the selling or serving of mixed beverages. However, wine and beer are not subject to the mixed beverage prohibition. A little research on the subject. ABC research shows that there are 31 localities still considered dry. Most formerly dry counties have segments that have been carved out wet by a variety of methods, including town referendums, municipal district referendums, General Assembly exceptions, which is what we hear a great deal of in social service and rehabilitation. In fact, I think the senior senator from Virginia Beach said he's never voting for another one of these until we fixed it. So this patchwork creates unequal competition for all the restaurants in these growing tourist destinations. Some of them have come from my seatmate to my right. Nearly every year we're adding to the proverbial Christmas tree. So this subcommittee took up this issue. Correct. So what we're saying is those basically 8 counties that are dry now would be deemed wet but could opt out of being wet by a referendum. They would have 1 year in which to do that and put that on the ballot for them if they wish to stay dry. One of the things that we're having a real hard problem with and trying to find revenues for the state is, especially down in that neck of the woods, is we lose an awful lot of tax dollars and business opportunities through the ABC stores with stuff going to Tennessee and Kentucky. I wish I had some real numbers to tell you. In speaking with Travis Hill of ABC, it's going to look like it's going to be a pretty good deal for the state if we can get some stores down in that way. I will also tell you, we're talking about gambling. Well, I don't know any casino that's not going to want to have to serve spirits, and so somebody's going to be here. Well, close enough. Half of Bristol's in Virginia. That they're going to ask for another exception. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the bill does. I know there'll be some that will vote against the bill because they vote against alcohol bills. I understand that. Some folks feel like we're not giving them an opportunity to have a referendum. We are. But it's been 86 years since Prohibition, and that's the bill, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Loudoun, Senator Blackrise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak against the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, with great respect for the patron of the bill, the situation that we've got right now is that if you've got a liquor store that wants to locate somewhere, they've got to convince the population that that's going to benefit their community, bring them economic development or whatever it is that is going to benefit them. And the burden is on the liquor store. What we're doing is we're shifting the burden from the liquor dealer to the average farmer, the average retiree, the average, just the ordinary folks. They don't have all the money. They don't have all the organization, the lawyers, and so forth to deal with these things. I'm not, a teetotaler myself, and I don't have a problem with localities that say, hey, okay, we want to have this. That's fine. But I just don't think we should shift the burden from the liquor dealers to the ordinary people. And so I think the way that we've set it up is a good way. I think we ought to keep it.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Roanoke County? Senator Suderline rise.
Speak against the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I speak against Senate Bill 1110 for the same reason that I vote against the bills that try to carve this out every year. Because what we're telling the folks in the rural areas and that's pretty much where this is that their referendums that they have, and if you go look at those referendums, one of the great improvements of the State Board of Elections, which hasn't had as many improvements as I think they should have the last few years, but one of them is they've put a lot of referendum information on their website of the former results. And you look at this, these aren't 90-10 votes. These aren't 85-15. These are real votes. They're happening in real communities. And even when they pass, there's a significant amount of the public that votes no. And there's a robust discussion that occurs in these communities. And by doing this at the request of the liquor industry, which are the only folks that visited me in support of this, I didn't hear from anyone with any state agency telling me this was a grand idea. What we're telling them is, no, we're gonna do this. This is the way it's gonna be. And it reminds me of an email I got the other day, right before Christmas, from a very liberal Democrat who doesn't see a lot of things the way I see it. And he said, why do I keep seeing, he doesn't like Dominion. He agrees that maybe the ratepayer, I'll get a better deal. So thank you for that. And also, Senator Peterson, if we only remember one thing you said, that would be about the ratepayer. But what he emailed me about was he wanted to know why he was seeing so much advertising on Facebook by the state ABC. He said, we only have one choice where to buy liquor from. Why is the Commonwealth advertising? And I said to him, it's because the Commonwealth's very interested in getting as much revenue as it can, and it's in the liquor business. And I know we've had attempts to try to get us out of it. I wish that those attempts had been more successful, and that's something I think we ought to get into. But we'll see what happens. But what we're doing here is we're saying, no, we want more state-run liquor stores in these communities, and that's often what's pushing it as well. And I don't think that's right, and I don't think this is very respectful to the people in these communities, even though I know how this vote's probably going to go. I'm disappointed to see what's going to happen today.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1110? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1110 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 17.
Ayes 23, noes 17. Senate Bill 1110 passes.
Senate Bill 1367, a bill relating to dogs running at large in packs, local ordinance, civil penalty.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that Senate Bill 1367 pass and speak into the bill, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, this bill came to me as part of the legislative agenda from my beloved James City County, and they're having some issues with dogs running in packs there. If you look at the legislation, those of you who might normally, woof woof to you too, you normally might not embrace it. The first thing I would point out that this is a piece of enabling legislation that is left up to the discretion of the elected officials in each locality, so it is not mandated in any way. Secondly, is a prohibition if local government adopts an ordinance to prohibit dogs running in packs. Pack is defined as 2 or more dogs. The incident, if in fact someone is violated, is $100 per dog. Here's the deal. Between October, here's what brought it about, and this is not quite as lighthearted as my friend, the senator from Williamsburg, would share with you. In one retirement community, between October and the mid part of December, here's what happened with a pack of dogs running. We had an individual who was walking her leashed pet, and her dog was attacked, torn to pieces, and had to be put down. We had a pack of dogs that attacked 3 alpacas that were in a field contiguous to the retirement community with severe injuries and ran up significant medical bills. We had a 2-dog pack attack 2 different individuals as they were walking outside in their retirement community. And in addition, we had 2 other situations where a pack of dogs attacked the owner's companion animals, and they had to be put down. So I would suggest to Your Honor that, Mr. President, that it is an issue. It's enabling legislation. It's got a modest fine, and I would ask you to support the bill.
Mr. President, would the gentleman yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
I would ask the gentleman. We have statutes on the books that allow one who owns livestock to shoot dogs that attack the livestock. We have bills on the books that allow local governments to have dogs put down that attack individuals and attack companion animals. What does this add to the law that we already have? Is this just another layer of bureaucracy?
Senator has the floor.
I would say this, that I am fairly familiar with some of the other ordinances and laws that pertain to this. The county attorney, upon examining the existing laws as it related to livestock, they did not feel extended in the situation to companion animals or individuals being attacked. And I've been following it from afar in the General Assembly. There are a number of bills that actually are dealing with the statutory provisions pertaining to dangerous and vicious dogs. And if I recall, the efforts are to give them, quote, a second life. The other thing I would suggest that I didn't mention that perhaps the senator from Bath might also be enamored with, and that is that the 2 major dog hunting groups in Virginia came to me, and they are acceptable to the bill and feel there's a significant protection in there for them.
Senator, further question?
Yes, further question. I would note that this bill exempts hunting dogs, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't be all right with the bill, but I still don't understand what about the existing law that allows animals to be put down if they are attacking livestock, number one, or attacking companion animals or people as dangerous animals or vicious animals. That law is already on the books. Are we trying to roll back those statutes and then put this in its place?
Mr. President, I would respond, woof, woof. And knowing an awful lot about the vicious dog statutes, where I have had the opportunity in another venue, in another profession, to be involved in those, they can be laborious and painful and extended proceedings. And I would say that this is a civil remedy as opposed to that quasi-criminal remedy that exists. and I think it is necessary.
Okay, well, I thank the gentleman.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Mr. President, I was going to ask some questions, but I noticed in response to one of them, the majority leader from James City County said "woof woof." So the question would be, if you like the bill, you bark once. If you don't like it, you bark twice. I mean, it's a mystery, and I'll be doggone if I can solve it.
I appreciate that very much. For what purpose does the senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico, rise?
Will the gentleman from James City County yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
Mr. President, I just remember as a young lawyer when I was trying to get a job, I went to a law office and the guy said, "I'm not going to hire you, but I'm going to give you some good advice. Never get involved in a church fight and never get involved in a dog case."
Senator yield for a question?
Yes, sir, I do.
Senator yield, you have the floor.
So would the gentleman explain to me, looking at this section, living back off the beaten path as I do, if I let my dog out at night as she normally does, and everybody around me that owns property, farm property, realizes that the coyotes run in packs, and my dog hates coyotes, but yet when that pack is running, my dog's in the mix, and they're on other people's property, would I technically not be in violation of this law?
Mr. President, I would respond that I expect that your dog doesn't like the coyotes any better than I do, and I would say if your dog is running in that pack, somebody might collect $50 on your dog if they're a poor shot. But having responded to that, I would say it is only defined as dogs and canines, and coyotes are not falling within that.
So,
further question?
So is the gentleman technically telling me a coyote is not a canine?
I'm telling you, it ain't a dog.
I would like to see the definition of a coyote. Thank you.
For what purpose does Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black, rise?
Mr. President, could the gentleman respond to a question?
Well, Senator yield for a question.
I should have listened to that lawyer. Yes, sir.
Senator Yields, you have the floor.
In Northern Virginia, we've got a lot of working couples, and as a consequence, we have dog sitting services where people go out and they make their living by going out and they'll get 2 or 3 dogs and they walk the dogs, and I see them out on my front walk 2 or 3 times a day. And is there anything that would prevent those dog walking services from now becoming a pack of dogs? Or and this is a serious problem where we are, I think, all through Northern Virginia, and probably there are other areas of the state, but Northern Virginia, it's a pretty big deal.
Mr. President, I would respond that even though Northern Virginia, as we countlessly hear, is much more affluent than some of us country boys, that there are a lot of dog walkers no matter where you live, particularly where you have 2 working spouses on it. But what I would say to you, and what should not be lost in this, is it is only an enabling piece of legislation. So I would say to you and my friend in Grayson County that the Board of Supervisors in Grayson County or Loudoun, who are closer to the people and most sensitive to what the quality of life is, would have to make the decision to enact the ordinance. Secondly, they're not constrained specifically by the language that's in this bill. It enables them to adopt an ordinance that is consistent with what they think is best. And I would suggest to you that a dog running at large is not a dog on a leash unless they are running around with the leash and got away from their owner.
Okay, I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley, rise?
Mr. President, I'd ask if the gentleman would yield for one question.
Will the senator yield for a question?
Mr. President, I would respond, knowing from whom the question is coming, I am sure it is going to be a dog-eat question.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask the gentleman from James City County one simple question. Are you now regretting ever taking this dog bill on and dropping it here in the Senate?
Senator has the floor.
I feel like I've been bad dog whipped on this thing.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Mr. President, I'd just like to say that those of you who know me know that I'm fairly musically inclined, so I just want to say that I'm going to vote for leader of the pack.
Yeah. All right. No other senators wish to be heard. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1367 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. Senate Bill 1367 passes.
Senate Bill 1642, a bill relating to cosmetics, animal testing, prohibition, penalty.
Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage, and I'm speaking in support of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, SB 1642, the Virginia Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act, prohibits the cosmetic manufacturers from selling a new cosmetic product in Virginia if the final product or any ingredient was tested on animals when an alternative modern non-animal test is available. This bill only affects new cosmetic products sold on or after January 20th, and with the amendment provides that it must be made in Virginia. The measure does not penalize retailers or customers who rely on manufacturers to meet the state regulations, nor does it prohibit the continued import or export of existing cosmetic products in Virginia from other countries, regardless of testing requirements. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1642? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1642 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 17.
Ayes 22, noes 17. Senate Bill 1642 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturtevant.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we just passed Senate Bill 1642, I ask that that vote be reconsidered.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1642 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Mr. President, having explained the previous bill, I move that we pass it.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1642 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. Senate Bill 1642 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move all the Senate bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar, which includes all bills on pages 7 through 8, including Senate Bill 1139 through Senate Bill 1541, that they be engrossed and advanced to the third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 7 through 8, Senate Bill 1139 through Senate Bill 1541, be engrossed in advance to the third reading in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1139, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1179, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. Senate Bill 1201, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. Senate Bill 1429, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. Senate Bill 1540, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 1541, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
The question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1242, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, mixed beverage restaurant license penalties, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that we engross and advance it to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1019, a bill relating to referral to mediation in child custody, visitation, and support cases, appropriate cases, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1019 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1024, a bill relating to carrying dangerous weapon to place of religious worship, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we engross the bill and advance it to third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1231, a bill relating to disposition of unrestorably incompetent defendants' capital murder, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we engross Senate Bill 1231 and pass it on to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1395, a bill relating to assault and battery against a health care provider, enhanced penalty, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Mr. President, I move the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Mr. President, I move that we engross and advance the bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1539, a bill relating to withholding of income for child support independent contractors, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
I move the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1542, a bill relating to civil actions, determination of indigency. Thank you. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute, and I'll practice that.
Thanks so much, Madam Clerk. The senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servo.
Move the committee substitute.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servo.
Move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senator, the question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move all the Senate bills on the first reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, which includes all Senate bills on pages 11 through 25, including Senate Bill 1041 through Senate Bill 1695, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 11 through page 25, Senate Bill 1041 through Senate Bill 1695 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day. Yes. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules be suspended and HJR 686 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and HJR 686 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
House Joint Resolution number 686, commending Arlington County Fire Department Station B.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
I move the resolution be agreed to.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquire the clerk, does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? For what purpose does Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a brief announcement.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's probably in the calendar, but I wanted to reinforce the Rural Caucus will be meeting this evening at 5 p.m. On the 5th floor, Subcommittee Room 2. The Lieutenant Governor and the Secretary of Transportation will be our guest speakers. If you're not interested in hearing the Lieutenant Governor or the Secretary of Transportation, we're also going to have donuts, so I hope you'll come.
I think the donuts will be the bigger draw. What purpose is Senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Rise for a brief announcement, sir.
Senator has the floor.
With those appropriate members meeting in the Senate Leadership Room immediately upon adjournment for a very short meeting.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. House and Senate Democrats sent a letter to Secretary of Finance Aubrey Lane requesting more information about the date when Virginians will begin experiencing the disruption of the current nonconformity of the Virginia tax law to the federal tax code. Per Secretary Lane's response, Virginians can begin filing their tax returns with the IRS on January 28th, just 5 days from now. Mr. President, this is an urgent situation. Without conformity, Commonwealth families are left without answers about when they'll receive a refund or how much it will be for. Virginians shouldn't suffer from our lack of inaction. We were sent here to lead, and if some of us aren't willing to lead, then those parties need to get out of the way of progress. Virginians are depending on us. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to come together and do what's needed to conform our tax code and provide certainty for the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
First, Mr. President, I have to correct you in that referring to our basketball team as containing ringers, that's a very harsh word. And they are indeed volunteer student interns who've come to learn at the feet of the legends, Barker, Peterson, Sturdivant, Reeves. But indeed, Mr. President, unless we find some more of these volunteer student interns very quickly, things will go badly.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard? From Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I rise for the purposes of an announcement.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I don't think Tony Romo said any truer words than Senator Marsden just did about the performance of the team without help. But, Mr. President, in Courts Committee this afternoon, Senator Obenshain has allowed me to invite Dr. Mishka Terplin. Dr. Terplin is going to do a brief presentation of the health effects of alcohol, cannabis, and opioids on the brain. And Mr. President, Senator Deeds had Dr. Terplin in his committee over the summer, between sessions, and we thought it was really important that all members have access to this, to his data and information. So on behalf of Senator Obenshain, I'd like to invite all the members to be in attendance toward the beginning of courts to see this presentation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for an announcement.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I just want to let you know that you've probably already been hectored by court staff about judicial nominations and elections. The elections will take place in February, but for those circuits and districts in which there has been a agreement reached for the selection of judge or judges, there will be interviews this Friday for those upon whom agreement has been reached. If you're close, I would urge you to get together and communicate with Shannon Hurd with the Division of Legislative Services and let her know if your circuit or your district does not have candidates ready for interview, for certification. I'd point out this is not to interview the 9 people who want one circuit court position. These are the people who the circuit has decided upon and settled upon for purposes of certification, that they are qualified to be selected. But if you don't have candidates selected by this Friday, that's all right. We're going to have a second round on the 8th of February, but if we can get more done this Friday, it would be great.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose is Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Very brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In part response to the gentlelady, the senator from Hampton, and also just as a point of information, I would share that in my responsibilities with the Senate Finance Committee, I've had the opportunity to carry the conformity bill for a number of years, and most recently last year, when there was not a lot of confusion about that, and we advanced it in a timely manner. And the date that it cleared the floor of the Senate was January the 26th. So observing that today is January the 23rd, I would say, yes, it is time for us to deal with that, but that I fully expect that to be dealt with in a very timely manner. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Wednesday, January 23rd, the Finance Subcommittee on Resources will meet immediately upon adjournment, 5th floor, Subcommittee Room 1, Pocahontas, Senators Norman, Hanger, Howell, Saslaw, Ruff, and Newman. The Committee for Courts of Justice will meet 15 minutes after adjournment, Senate Room A in Pocahontas. The Committee on Transportation will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Senate Room 3. In the Capitol. The Finance Subcommittee on Transportation will meet at 4 p.m. 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 1 in Pocahontas. Senators Wagner, Saslaw, Newman, Carrico, Barker, and Donovan. The Rural Caucus will meet at 5 p.m. 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 2, Pocahontas. Tomorrow, Thursday, January 24th, the Committee on Education and Health will meet at 8 a.m. Senate Room A in Pocahontas. The Finance Subcommittee on Capital Outlay and General Government will meet at 8 a.m. 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 1 in Pocahontas. Senators Norman, Saslaw, Hanger, Lucas, Ruff, Wagner, McDougall, Vogel, Obenshain, and Dance. The Hampton Roads Caucus will meet at 8 a.m. 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 3 in Pocahontas. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1, both in the Capitol.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.